next one. So I'm actually going to throw this at Jim. This is something I came up with right before we started. Going back to our which is better bit, and I want it to be, I think it's semi-easy, but as a series as a whole, not an individual title versus individual title, which is better, the Resident Evil series or Silent Hill series? So I'll start this one off, since I probably am much bigger of a horror fan. Well, I know I am, but that's not the point. So obviously Silent Hill 2 is easily regarded as one of the best horror games, depending on how you feel against some of the Resident Evil ones. The original Resident Evil trio is my favorite games of all time, especially if you do the remake for GameCube. For 4, I know most people actually prefer Resident Evil 4 versus some of those original ones, but to me that went too action-oriented. And the games after that have been kind of downhill, and now there's so many Resident Evil games. But still, on the whole, I think Resident Evil clearly wins it. Silent Hill had a much more psychological, alone-in-the-dark feel, and Silent Hill 2 obviously hit it out the park. I don't have any experience with games past Silent Hill 2, even though I have a bunch of them. It's just one of those game series where I have and I need to get to. But from everything I've read and what I understand of the games, it's just not going to beat Resident Evil for me. I do like psychological horror.
Right.
Yeah, Jim.
Right.
Can you hear me? Sorry. It just started randomly cutting in and out. Yeah. I do love psychological horror games, don't get me wrong, but nothing beats a good giant monster zombie battle like Resident Evil could give to you. And I don't know, I got much more invested with the characters in the world in Resident Evil than I did ever for Silent Hill. So because of just the numerous other titles, Resident Evil takes the cake for me.
Yeah, I'm going to agree. Definitely for the series overall, it's going to be Resident Evil. Because with Silent Hill, honestly, like the only people truly care about are the first 3. Now, they're 3 of the best horror games ever made, and 2's a goddamn masterpiece. One, do not. Okay, thank God. I thought my camera was shitting out for a second. But, come on, come back. Get all technical difficulties. Motherfucker, do not do this. Alright, the video might be a little... Upgrade my laptop, but... Oh, do not. Come on. Oh, that's still going. Alright, we're back.
Yeah, maybe stop buying Switches and get yourself something better. But go ahead. Come on, Bloney Tits.
But, yeah. Yeah, the first 3 Resident Evils I absolutely loved. They're my childhood. But I would probably say as pure horror games, the first 3 Silent Hills are better. But I still have more fun with the first 3 Resident Evils. And 4 is still a fun game. It's a great action game. 5's a little flawed. 6 is garbage. 7's a whole different direction. So for all the spin-offs, for all the series in general... It's Resident Evil. Resident Evil's better.
Yeah. Yeah, and to Jim's
if we ask this question in like 2004, there'd probably be a ton more people who would say, "Oh, it's Silent Hill. Resident Evil's garbage." But as time went on, it's Resident Evil.
Well, what's actually funny is, and I forget what year Resident Evil 4 came out, but man, for a lot of people, Resident Evil 4 nukes the competition when it comes to a lot of these. And once again, I do love it. It is a great game. It's just, to me, doesn't have that feel of a Resident Evil game.
Which it's not a horror game.
Yeah, which is my number one issue with it.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, it's a great game. It's one of the best, action horror games of all time. It's just not survival horror.
Jim, sorry. I might have fucked up. I jumped in a house, shot at a guy. Don't have any more ammo. He might be chasing me now.
You probably fucked up.
But anyway, yeah, so...
Safe guess.
Yeah, Resident Evil 1, 2, and 1 and 2, I think, had the horror aspects probably the best. But even by 3, Nemesis, I still say, and I'm sure we'll do this in a future video, but like, you know, it's easily one of the best video game enemies ever, because just that persistent of like, you're already dealing with shit, and the fact he could bust his ass through a wall added tension to a game like I never had before. So it had a horror element in a different sense versus the atypical, this is just a horrific setting. Whereas, you know, the Silent Hill games obviously were just pretty much all horror, never really got full action. But then, like Jim said, a lot of them apparently start shitting the bed. So I'd be very curious. You know, hopefully if you have the opinion, it's, you look at the series as a whole and you're not just trying to say like, well, it's just Silent Hill 2 is better than everything. Yeah, but I'd like to see your guys' opinion.
Yeah, definitely. I want to see if that old battle's still being fought, or if people just don't care about Silent Hill anymore. I don't think there's been a Silent Hill game since 2012.
Yeah, well, and honestly, Vita. What made me think about it was I was trying to think, like, I want to do a horror franchise versus horror franchise, and as soon as I even said that in my head, I was like, well, duh, Resident Evil versus Silent Hill. Like, I don't even know if there's if there's other horror franchises you'd want to try to compare versus those two. Not saying there's not enough other horror franchises. I'm just saying those are probably the two most well-known.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
All right.